Hello student, today we are going to learn the equilibrium level of income and employment, which is continuation of the previous lesson, aggregate demand and aggregate supply. With the help of that, we are going to learn how the economy is going to get the equilibrium position or determine their aggregate demand and aggregate supply. So there are two approaches are there. One is called aggregate demand, aggregate supply approach. Other one is called savings and investment approach. So for under these two approach, we are individually learning the aggregate demand and aggregate supply. One approach, first approach, and second approach, savings and investment approach. So under the savings, aggregate demand and aggregate supply approach, the economy is get equilibrium when aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. So that means the equilibrium position for determining the income and employment is possible only when the aggregate demand of the economy is equal to aggregate supply, and if we detail analyze this one, we know it that aggregate demand is equal to C plus I and aggregate supply is equal to C plus S. So that means C plus I should be equal to C plus S. I am assuming that the consumption function in the economy is C equal to 50 plus 0.5y. 50 is autonomous consumption and 0.5 is the marginal propensity to consume. Also assume that the planned investment for the economy, which is autonomous investment, is rupees 100 crores. Now based on that, we derive one table that your income is increasing every time by 100 to 200 to 300 to 400 to 500. And consumption, since this is the autonomous consumption which is at zero level of income, and this income is 50, and every time there is a marginal propensity to consume is there 0.5, so the consumption is increased by 50 each time. So 100 to 150 to 200 to 250 to 300. Now savings means we know it, savings is equal to y minus c. So 0 minus 50, you will get it minus 50. Then 100 minus 100, you will get 0. Then 200 minus 100, you will get 50. And 100, 150, and so on. Investment, autonomous investment, we assume it that it is 100, and which is independent, because I said it that it is autonomous investment, it is independent with the level of income. That's why in every level of income it is 100. We have assumed it. Now aggregate demand is equal to C plus I. That means C is your this plus this. If we add it, then you will get 50 first level, means zero level. 50 plus 100, you will get 150. 100 plus 100, you will get 200. 50 plus 150, 150 plus 100, you will get 250, and 200 plus 100 is 300, and so on the other portion. Now aggregate supply is equal to C plus S. Since aggregate supply, we also know it that this is your aggregate supply means national income. So the national income also we can take it that figure that C plus S is equal to the national income, that is Y, or C plus S. If you go on adding it, you will get the same figure, that is 0, 100, 200, 300 and 400, 300, 400 and 500. Now as per the condition of the effective demand, that means equilibrium level, we find it the aggregate demand economy will get the equilibrium when the aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. So we have aggregate demand 300 and aggregate supply also 300 when my income level is equal to 300. So the equilibrium level of income is determined at 300 level of income. So that is the determination of income and employment with the help of table, one numerical figure we work out over here. Now if we plotted this one, we will find it that aggregate demand curve is above the origin intersecting y-axis, and aggregate supply curve starts from origin at 45-degree angle, so intersecting at point E. This E is our equilibrium point. With this, in this point, your equilibrium level of income is equal to 300, and where aggregate demand and aggregate supply also equal, that is 300. So that's the equilibrium level of income. Now based on that, if you go on discussing this part further, you will find it there are two level of income. One is below 300 level of income, that is Y1, as I have mentioned here, Y1. In that case, your aggregate demand is greater than aggregate supply, and one another income, that is Y2, where aggregate supply is greater than aggregate demand. So in these two situations, how the what will be the position if the economy is in this income level, then what will be the condition for the economy. So over here is we have discussed over here one by point over here. Now if the economy is planning to the point which I said it that it is below the 300, if the economy is planning to produce OY1 level of output, there will be a situation of excess demand which will lead to increase the general price level, because aggregate demand is higher than the aggregate supply, and is a result of increase in price level. General price level will increase and create inflationary pressure in the economy. Again, if the economy is planning to produce OY2 level of output, which is beyond the 301, that is equilibrium level of output, there will be situation of deficit demand, because aggregate supply is higher than the aggregate demand, corresponding to full employment level, and as a result deflationary pressure will arise in the economy. Thus the equilibrium level of output in the economy will determine at point E, where aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply. This is your ADAS approach. We move to the second one, that is savings and investment approach. Under savings and investment approach, the equilibrium level of output is determined when planned savings is equal to planned investment. So that is what we know it, that aggregate demand is equal to C plus I and aggregate supply is equal to C plus S. If we take out that aggregate demand and aggregate supply situation, that means equation, aggregate demand is equal to aggregate supply for equilibrium, we will find it C plus I is equal to C plus S, and both sides you look at that C is having common, so that's what we have investment is equal to savings. So under savings and investment approach, the economy will get the equilibrium when savings is equal to investment or investment is equal to savings. So I am taking that previous example, and the consumption function is similar, that is C is equal to 50 plus 0.5y, and autonomous investment is equal to 100 crore. Based on that, we have table 2 where we are showing it the same example. Income is increased by every time 100, consumption starts with 50 and every time increase by 50, savings is y minus c, will get minus 50, 0 and 50 and so on, and investment, as we have said it, that it is 100 autonomous investment, we'll find it the both savings and investment are equal when your income is equal to 300. So that is your equilibrium level of income. Now in this case you will find it that if we plot it in diagram, you will find savings curve is starts from the y negative zone intersecting y axis, move upwards to the right, and investment curve is parallel to the x axis, which is intersecting at point E, and that 300 level of income as we are discussing over here, and when savings and investment both are equal to 100. That is our savings and investment approach, how the economy get equilibrium. But then question is that if the economy having output of y1 level of output or y2 level of output like previous, in that case you will find it that what will happen, that your planned investment is greater than planned savings, or another situation, planned savings is greater than planned investment. In these two situations, what will be the economy for the what will be the condition for the economy, that part we are going to learn. Now next slide, we'll move to the next. Now in this part we will find it that um, the equilibrium level of income is determined when savings equal to investment, that is 100 crores. But what if your planned savings, that is if the economy is producing OY2 level of output where planned savings is greater than planned investment. In such situation, aggregate demand will fall short of aggregate supply corresponding to full employment, and because of less investment, less investment expenditure, that's what your aggregate demand will be fall short. Now, what will happen? There will be unsold stock will be piled up. As a result, profit will decrease, and thus the economy will reduce the production till it reaches to the equilibrium. That is the situation for the economy, and they will do if this situation means your planned savings is greater than planned investment. Output, there will be output which will be remain unsold, and it will slowly piled up, and to clear all these unsold stock, the economy, the producer will decrease or discount, allow the discount, that is cut down the price, lesser price, and lesser price if they are selling, they will get lesser profit, and if they are getting less profit, they are definitely next level they will produce less and less employment will start. Next, if they are producing OY1 level of output, planned savings is less than planned investment. In such situation, your aggregate demand is greater than aggregate supply to the full employment, and the producer will intend to produce more to cope up with the aggregate demand level. Thus, the economy will produce further it till reach to the equilibrium. These two situations will be there. Therefore, the equilibrium level of income will be determined at point E where the planned savings is equal to planned investment. That is the equilibrium condition under savings and investment approach. Now, based on that, we will determine the equilibrium level. Question number 1, it is saying the consumption function of an economy is given C is equal to 100 plus 0.75y. 100 is autonomous consumption and 0.5 is MPC. So MPC and autonomous consumption, that is C0, is given. Now investment expenditure, that is I, is equal to 800. So we have to determine the equilibrium level of output and equilibrium level of income and the savings at the equilibrium level of income. Now we move to the solution, that given C is equal to 100 plus 0.75y and I is equal to 100. In that case, we will find equilibrium level. At the equilibrium level, AD is equal to AS or C plus I is equal to Y. That is, Y is equal to 100 plus 0.75y plus 100. Solving that, we will get 0.25y is equal to 900, and we will get it y is equal to 3600. Now the equilibrium level of income, therefore 3600. If it is crores is given, we mention crores. If it is not been mentioned, we will keep it as it is. Now again we will find it the savings at the equilibrium level of income. We put it the y value, equilibrium level of output, that is y value, in the consumption function to find the consumption. So we will find it that 100 plus 0.75y into 3600. I hope you understood this 3600y value. We will put it over here in place of y. This y value is there, so in place of y we'll put it at 3600 to get it the consumption at the equilibrium level of income, 3600. Now, so since consumption at the equilibrium level of income is 2800, so we'll have S is equal to, therefore, y minus C, that is 3600 minus 2800, will get 800 crores or 800 rupees 800. So savings at the equilibrium level of income. The second numerical question we have: calculate the investment expenditure from the following about an economy is in equilibrium. Income is given 1000, MPS given 0.2, and autonomous consumption expenditure is given 100. So we can move from here by using savings and investment approach. So under given condition is given y is equal to 1000, and MPS given. MPS means y 1 minus b. We have learned it in the savings function in the previous lesson. So y minus b, 1 minus b is equal to MPS, and that MPS is equal to given in your question over here, that 0.20. And autonomous consumption also given. Autonomous consumption is given, your autonomous consumption expenditure given 100. So now based on that, we'll have the S0 function, that S is equal to minus C0 plus 1 minus PY. We'll have savings and investment approach. The equilibrium level is derived at when S is equal to I, savings is equal to investment, that is I is equal to minus C0 plus 1 minus BY, and by plotting it, this one we'll find minus C0 is 100, and 1 minus B, that is MPS, is equal to 0.2 into 1000 equilibrium level of income. So by solving this one, we'll get the investment expenditure is equal to 100. Moving on to the next question, question number 3, where the level of ex ante aggregate demand and autonomous investment and autonomous consumption expenditure C0 is given 50 crores and MPS is 0.2, level of income Y, that is 4000 crores. State whether the economy is in equilibrium or not, give your reason. From here we have given the autonomous consumption expenditure C0 is equal to 50 crores and the autonomous investment also 50 crores. MPS given 0.2, so the MPC is equal to 1 minus MPS, that is 1 minus 0.2 is equal to 0.8. Given in the question Y is equal to 4000 crores. Now we know that aggregate demand is equal to C plus I, or aggregate demand C function we know C0 plus BY plus I, and putting the value In the equation 1, we get aggregate demand is equal to 50 plus 0.8 into 4000 plus 5000. By solving this one, we get 3300 crores aggregate demand. But then aggregate demand, that is 3300 crores, is less than the income at the equilibrium level, which is also known as AS. In the equilibrium level, if you remember it, we write AS also known as Y. So Y is given 4000. So thus we can conclude here that aggregate demand is less than aggregate supply, that is Y. Hence the equilibrium is not in equilibrium. That's all this question. Now we are going to learn one important theory, that is paradox of thrift. In this situation, we'll find that if the economy is intended to save more money than the consumption is less, savings are more savings is there, then what will happen? In this situation, we will find, since everyone is trying to increase their savings, less of consumption, that's what the aggregate demand will decrease. And if the aggregate demand decrease, then the producer will produce less commodity. And if they are producing less commodity, then the employment level in the economy will decrease. So because there is a less production, less resource required, less employment required, and because of that there will be cut down in the, or employment level will decrease. Cut down production and employment level will decrease. And that's what the Keynes is suggesting, that where increase in savings at individual level will gradually lead to slow down the economy in terms of circular flow of income. That means everyone's income will decrease thereafter. It will be difficult situation arise in the economy. The GDP will decrease, employment decrease, GDP decrease, per capita income will decrease, and that is the one situation will arise for the economy, which is danger for the economy. This is called paradox of thrift. Now we'll move to the excess demand, meaning inflationary gap and reason and impact. Now excess demand. In the excess demand, you will find when aggregate demand is more than the aggregate supply at full employment level of income, full employment level, then this is called excess demand. Your aggregate demand is excess than aggregate supply, but that corresponding to the full employment condition is there, all resources are fully employed. In that situation, aggregate supply will fall short compared to aggregate demand, and because of that you will get one gap will arise, that is called inflationary pressure in the economy. This gap is called inflationary pressure because when aggregate demand is increased as compared to the supply, the economy, the general price level of the commodity in the economy will increase. That's what the inflationary pressure will arise in the economy. The main reason over here, that increase in household consumption demand due to rise in propensity to consume, and increase in private investment demand because of the rise in credit facilities, increase in public expenditure, that is government expenditure, government also spending more and more, everyone is spending more and more because of that aggregate demand increase, and due to that export demand increase, and due to that your aggregate demand is increasing. Also another point is there, that is increase in money supply, and all these are money supply increase, that's why your disposable income is increased, and you are paying less tax because of the tax rate is decreased. So all these increase in household consumption, investment expenditure, government expenditure, export expenditure, and because of the money supply is increased, and because of that your aggregate demand is more than the aggregate supply. As a result, in the economy there will be the inflationary pressure will be arise. So what deflationary pressure. Impact on the employment. As there is a full utilization of the resources in the economy, there is no resource left out for further production. That's why economy will not be increased, it will be remain unchanged. Impact on output. Output cannot be produced, any more output is there because no resource left idle for further production. That's why output will remain constant. Only price will increase because the demand is higher than the supply, and because of that you will find the general price, all the commodities price go on increasing. That's what the impact of excess demand. So we summarize this fact that employment and output remain constant, only price of the different commodities will increase in the economy. Next part, opposite part, that is deficit demand. In the deficit demand, when aggregate demand is falls short of aggregate supply corresponding to full employment level of output, then it is called deficit demand. And because of supply is more than the output, more than the demand, that's why deflationary pressure will arise in the economy, and the price of the commodity will be decreased, and the gap will arise, that is called deflationary pressure. All the price of the commodity will decrease day by day because your supply is higher, and your unnecessarily stock piled up, and to reduce that, to clear all these unnecessarily stock, you have to reduce the price. That's what the price is decreasing. The main reason is that decrease in household consumption expenditure. Everyone is consuming less, and that is due to propensity to consume, fall in propensity to consume, your tendency to consume less. Decrease in investment expenditure, everyone is decreasing their investment expenditure. Decrease in government expenditure, decrease in export demand, all these are other. Decrease in money supply, and due to decrease in disposable income and increase in tax rate. Now impact of deficit demand. Impact on deficit demand on output. Due to lack of sufficient aggregate demand, there will be increase in inventory. Inventory stock will build up because aggregate demand is less, and due to which your stock, day by day stock will increase, and that will lead to the forcing to the producer to cut down the production. Employment. Since the output, whatever output is produced is not demanded in the market, that's why producer is forced to cut down the production, and once they cut down the production, that means there is an unemployment increase. The unemployment level will increase because producer is decreasing the production. All resource will be using less because of the less production, so unemployment level will increase. Price level, because of the unnecessarily stock piled up in the economy, and to clear up all this unnecessarily stock, unsold stock, producer will decrease the price, offering different discount, and due to which the price level of the commodity will decrease. Now, since we know it that both excess and deficit demand are not welcome for the economy, and that's what are the measures to correct the deficit demand and or excess demand. So some measures to rectify the situation of excess demand is basically known as fiscal policy and monetary policy. Fiscal policies are basically adopted by the government, and monetary policy is adopted by the central bank of a country, and which we have monetary policy we have learned in the banking chapter. Different function is adopted by the different function to control the credit by the central bank. That part we have learned, even we are going to learn over here again. So the main tools of fiscal policies are expenditure policy, revenue policy, and deficit financing. So expenditure policy. In the expenditure policy, during the excess demand, government will cut down the different expenditure, and such as the less investment expenditure for construction of road, building, railways, line, canal, etc. All these developmental expenditure will cut down, so that the money will be less available for the factor owner, that is household, and aggregate demand will decrease. During the period of deficit demand, government will make the large investment in the development expenditure for construction of the road, bridge, building, railways, canal, etc., and give the free education, health facility, all these part to enlarge the deficit, enlarge the budget deficit, and give the more money to the more money in the factor owners. They are getting more money and they will spend more, and that's what the aggregate demand will increase. Revenue policy. Under revenue policy, the tax, most part of the government revenue are the tax. So the tax and personal tax on personal income or corporate income should be increased during the excess demand, so that the disposable income for spending will decrease, which will lead to decrease in aggregate demand. On the other hand, if there is the deficit demand is there, then it should be reduced during deficit demand. The tax rate will be reduced, encourage the private consumption, expenditure, and investment. It will increase the disposable income. So if the tax rate is decreased, then disposable income will be increased, and if they are getting more money to spend, then aggregate demand will increase. Deficit financing. Deficit financing should be discouraged during excess demand and should be encouraged during deficient demand. This deficit financing we will learn in the government budget next chapter, little more. Now monetary policy is, as we said it, that monetary policy is taken by the central bank of an economy. There are two policies they are taking it. One is called quantitative policy and qualitative policy. Under quantitative measure, that is first point is the bank rate. There are two type of rate is there. One is called repo rate and reverse repo rate. Under repo rate, the central bank gives loan to the commercial banks, and reverse repo rate is the central bank takes loan from the commercial banks. So both this rate is decided by the central bank. Now in this, what is the excess and deficit demand? If there is there, then what is the action is taken by the central bank? During excess demand, central bank increase the bank rate so that the credit become costly and less loan will be taken by the public. During depression or deficit demand, the central bank reduce the bank rate so that the credit become cheaper and everyone can get more loan from the commercial bank, because the loan is less interest you have to pay it. So excess demand, there will be the bank rate will, interest rate will be higher, so that they discourage or the public will take less loan because loan become costly. Whereas in the deficit demand, they decrease the interest rate so that the credit become cheaper. Everyone will take more loan from the bank. That is the quantitative measure, bank rate. Under bank rate, open market operation is basically the central bank sell the government securities under this open market operation to the general public, so or the commercial banks. So during the excess demand, central bank sell the, this part is, you have to remember it, sell the government security during excess demand. So excess demand, they will sell the government securities to the commercial bank. So if they sell it, then the commercial bank or public has to pay the money to the government. So the excess money flow in the system will be withdrawn by the government or the central bank. That's what the aggregate demand will decrease. Now in case of deficit demand, they will purchase it. The next part is that when in case of deficit demand, central bank will purchase or buy the buy the government securities from the commercial bank. So if the central bank is buying that government securities, then central bank has to pay the money to the commercial bank, and commercial bank will get more money for lending. Now they will offer the more loan to the public, and public will get more money through this process. Now cash reserve ratio and SLR and statutory liquidity ratio. And In case of the excess demand, both this ratio will increase so that the availability of credit become lesser for to the commercial bank, and the less supply of credit will be available in the economy. During deficit demand, the central bank will lower the rate of interest, less the cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio, so that it increases the credit facility availability of credit in the with the bank, and they offer more loan to the public. Quantitative measure, we have margin requirement. Margin requirement means the amount of money is supposed to keep by the loanee in the form of fixed deposit with the commercial bank while they are approaching loan. So during excess demand, what they will take, the margin requirement will be more. They have to keep more fixed deposit against the loan, and that's what they will actual loan disbursement will be less. I hope you understood. If you are taking, say, I'm just giving example that if you want to take 1 lakh rupees loan from the bank, and bank is decided that you have to keep it 30%, that is 30,000 as fixed deposit, then actual loan is given 1 lakh minus 30,000 is 70,000 loan is given to the loanee, to you, if you are approaching for loan. But in case of deficit demand, that margin requirement the bank will offer less. That means if they are saying is 10% only margin requirement is there, that means you have to keep, if your loan amount is 1 lakh, you have to keep 10,000 as fixed deposit, and you will be getting loan 90,000. That's what actual loan will be given 90,000. So you will get more money to spend. That is the margin requirement. Moral suasion, it is mental pressure that during excess demand they will be, the central bank of asks the commercial bank to go for strict documentation policy while disbursing loan to the public. Indirectly, it will discourage you to take the loan from the bank. It will, mental harassment will be given that you have to prepare so many papers, and if shortage of any paper you will not get loan. That is moral suasion. Mental harassment, it will be given to the loanee for submitting one after another document. On the other hand, when there is a deficit demand, central bank pursued request, appeal, advise the bank to liberal banking loan policy. That you need not come, you just come with a simple your Aadhaar card, you will get loan. Simple like that. That your liberal documentation policy is offered to the public to take the loan from the, so that the aggregate demand will increase. Rationing of credit, it is rationing means it's a fixing of quota to different business activities through the credit rationing. So central bank can promote the social justice while checking the state of depression and more strict to the quota during excess demand. So this is your homework, is that solve all numerical question as you have done over here from the textbook, and answer all the question from your textbook exercise, and that you have to submit in the reopening. Thank you. Our next chapter will be the government budget and the